Nice. In this video, we are going to start modeling the legs. And basically, the legs, they are going to be made of some joints, which is going to be the pelvis joints, the knee joints, and also made of leg links. And so we're going to make some things to be working as the legs, and also some boots. And okay, we are going to start then first with the joints. And for the joints, we are going to first, since we are in edit mode, I'm going to object mode. The 3D cursor is here. I want it to go back to the word origin. And then I'm going to press Shift A and going to add a cylinder. Okay, so the cylinder is in the head objects. We don't want it to be in the head objects. I want it to be in a new collection. So this time I'm going to make it in a different way. I'm going to head to the scene collection right here. So I click on it and I press the letter C and it creates an empty collection for me. If I double click it, I can rename. I'm going to rename it to leg objects like this. And then now I can click and drag this one to the collection that I want, which is this leg objects. Alright, now I will double click on this one and then change it to be the pelvis joint. Like this. Alright, again, it's too big, it's not rotated correctly, and all of that stuff. So I'm going to press Tab, go to edit mode, and then Shift Z so we can see through it. And I'm going to first rotate it, this time on the y-axis. So I'm going to press 90 because I want to rotate it by 90 degrees. I want to keep it like this. And I'm going to make it be slightly smaller, actually pretty smaller, like something like this. And then I'm going to press G and move it to here, and it should be good. Okay, so that's basically it for the positioning, I'd say. And now what we are going to do is, first of all, we need to get rid of these n-gons, so these faces with lots of vertices. So I'm selecting the face, I shift select this other face, and then I am going to press I, and there we go, click to apply. If I press M and at center here, this is going to happen. So we don't want it. I am going to click on this face here first, and then M at center, and then this face here, M at center. Then they are going to be placed in the correct location. So it's in the center. Now that we already have that correct, we can add here a loop cut. So Control R to add this loop cut, and then I'm going to rotate it once so I can add another loop cut here, and I'm going to press the left mouse button and the right mouse button so it keeps in the middle. One thing now that I'm going to do is to scale these two in the X, so they are going to be separated like this. So we can separate them by scaling in the correct axis, and in this case it is in the X-axis. Alright, now I want to make this part of the center here go inside. So I want to extrude it, but I want to extrude it inside here. And if I extrude it like this, it's not going to work. Let's see, for example, I select here multiple faces and press E. We can see that's not going to work correctly. So let me actually select more faces So we have problems doing it like this. So what we are actually going to do is I'm going to press Alt and click in here. So it's going to select the loop of faces. And then I'm going to press E once, right click to keep it at the exact same place. Now I'm going to press S and scale it down. But we see that when I scale it down, it also scales on the X, and so it makes that kind of slope. And I don't want that slope. So since I don't want that slope and I see it is scaling on the X, which means I don't want it to scale on the X. So I can press S and Shift X. So it's not going to scale on the X, but it's going to scale on the other two axes. So here I can scale it down and keep it somewhere around here. That should be fine. And then click. And we have something like this that is going to be our joint. Now, just to finish this joint, I am going to add some bevels into this part here. So Alt click, Alt Shift click to select this other ring here as well, and then Control B to bevel it. So there we go. And this way we already have a joint. And this one is the pelvis joint. We don't need to do anything with the parts that is inside of the body because it's going to be hidden. And we are also going to recycle these joints to make the knee and the boots joints, but this is for later. Now what we are going to do is add a mirror modifier to this guy here. So I'm going to the blue wrench, add modifier, mirror, and then again, if it didn't go to the correct side, I drop and click on the head shape. Nice. Now we are going back to object mode because we are going to add a cube. And this cube is going to be the leg links. So I'm going to press F2 to rename it. And this one, let's rename it to leg links, like this. All right. Now I'm going to edit mode, and then we are going to press Shift Z so we can see through things. And I want this here to be the same thickness of this inner part of the joint, and a little bit smaller. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to S to scale it down so we can have it somewhat like that, and then SX to scale it on the X, and then GX to move it to here, and then we can come a little bit closer, SX again to make it be to fit inside this joint. All right, so now that we have it fit inside the joint, I am actually going to make it even smaller. Let me bring it down. Oops. So, but I don't want it to be smaller on the X. I want it to be smaller just the Y and the Z. So S, Shift X, and make it smaller, like so. So now it is completely inside the joint, like that. So Shift Z again. And I want the leg to make kind of a bend in the knee, because this is going to help us out later. And to do that, what we are going to do is to rotate this guy slightly forward like this. So here I'm on the right orthographic view. So we rotate it slightly forward like that. And then we are going to make a little change, which is we are going to this option right here. We are going to click it and change it to normal. What happens here? Let me go back to global, and I'm going to choose the move widget. So here we can see that the Y is pointing to the right, the Z is pointing up, just like here. So this here is the global axis. These axes here, they are what is going to be the scene axis, let's say. And when we change it to something like normal, we don't see anything changing here yet. But, for example, if I select this face, let me press 3, whoops, select this face, things change. Because now the Z is pointing in a completely different position. The same with the Y. The Y is pointing to the left, and so on. This is because the normal aligns with the face. So the face, when we look at it, it's pointing to this direction. And where the face is pointing is where the Z is going to point in a normal orientation. So that's what we are going to use here. Because now that we have this set to normal, we can simply grab this guy here, or again, since we know this is the Z axis, I can press G, Z, and move it all the way to where I want it to be. So G, Z, I want the leg to be around here, and that's it. So this way, we already created the leg links, let's say. All right, so I'm going to press Shift Z again. And then I am going to add a mirror modifier to this leg link. So we can go to the right side of the robot. So, but in this case, I don't want to add it like from here. I'm going to show you another way that you can do it, which is we can open this guy here. So click on it, open it, and then we are going to have the modifiers right here. We can click on this modifier and drag it to the object that we want it to be copied to. So if I just leave it there, then it's going to be copied to the object that I dragged it onto. And that's a way that we can use to copy modifiers. There are a bunch of other ways, but let's keep with this one for now. And all right, now let me close this one here, and I'm going to object mode again. Now, what I want to do is I want to do the knee joints. And to do the knee joints, I'm going to recycle the pelvis joints, just like we said before. So Shift D to duplicate, and then we can move it to where it should be. But I'm not going to do it this way because I want to show you another thing, which is the use of the 3D cursor, but this time using this guy here. So the actual tool. In here, we have this orientation stuff. So if we click it and change it to geometry, we can see first that we didn't do anything yet. That the 3D cursor, it has some things like some lines, some arrows, I don't know, and it points to some places. It's actually 3D like that, and that has a cause, that has a utility, which is we can place the 3D cursor, for example, in this face right here. So if I click on this face, I can see that the 3D cursor is also aligned with this face. So if this is aligned with the face, I can use the rotation of the 3D cursor to align something else, just like we did with the normal. Because let's go again. Let me click here on this normal, on this move widget. Actually, we don't see anything. it didn't change anything here because the normal only object mode doesn't actually change that much, if I'm not mistaken. Let me see. Yeah, it actually changes, but just after we make some transformations and things like that. But in this case, and since we are using the 3D cursor, I can go here and change to cursor. And there we see that it has um, the same orientation, the same normal, the same point, the same vector, let's say, as as this face right here. And we can use that to move this guy that we duplicated to the correct place. And so I'm going to press G and Z and move it to here. So Shift to Z, just so we can see it. And then again, Shift to Z and move it to right here. It doesn't need to be very precise, but there we go. We have now our knee joint. So I'm going to click here, double click, and then change it to knee joints. Those are our new knee joints. And another thing that we can use with the cursor is, since we have this joint here selected, we can press Shift S and then cursor to select it. The cursor is going to be right in the middle of where the joints are. And this is going to be pretty useful for us because now we can click on the leg links and then Shift D it like this and right click to keep it on the same place. And since we are still using the cursor, we are going to do every kind of transforms like rotation scale and translation, all according to the 3D cursor. So I can rotate it. Whoops. Let me see here. Cursor. Let me see. Oh, and this one here, I also have to change it. So this here is the orientation, but we need to change here the pivot point, and we can set the 3D cursor to be our pivot point. So when I click on it, we can see that now the gizmo went all the way to the 3D cursor. And this way now we can rotate it. So we can rotate the object that we duplicated along that pivot, which is the 3D cursor. So it's not going to be the object pivot point anymore. And it's actually going to be the 3D cursor, which is very, very interesting in a lot of cases. So this way we already have the leg links of the lower leg, let's say. So let me change this here to upper leg links. And this one here is going to be, whoops, let me delete this .001. It's going to be our lower leg links. Okay, very nice. And now to finish the leg, it's only going to be adding this guy here to here, so to where we begin the boots. So let's do something here again with the 3D cursor, which is Shift S and then cursor to select it. It's going to bring the cursor all the way to here. Now we can select our knee joints or whatever that one can be as well. But let's select here the knee joints. And then I'm going to press Shift D, right click to keep it where it was before. And this time I'm going to press Shift S and selection to cursor. This is going to make exactly what's written here. So it's going to get what is selected to where the cursor is, just like that. And this one, we are going to change the name of it to, let me change here to boot joints. Boot joints. All right. So now that we have our boot joints in place, we just need to create the boot. And for that, I'm going to press Shift A, and I'm going to create a cube. Now, I'm going to change this here to global, and then I'm going to scale it down like this, all the way down, and then tab edit mode, and then I'm going to bring it down with a move. So I'm going to press G Z to bring it to half. So halfway here, the joint, click, and then we have already a place for the boots. But still, it's not in the right place. I need to move it to the center right there. So I'm going to press G and X to make it be kind of centered. And then it's too big, so I'm going to press S, X. Oops. So we are still using the 3D cursor as the pivot point. I'm going to change it to be median point. So it's going to get the average. So I'm going to press again S, X, and then it's going to do just like that. And GX to move it to be on the center like that. Just fine. Nice. Now I'm going to Control R to make a cut here. And then I am going to press 1 and going to select these vertices right here. So it's like this. I'm going to press G and Y to move it on the Y axis. Just a tad little bit, something like this, and click. And then Control R here again to make another cut. Then bring it up like this. And then I'm going to select these vertices here and G, Y, and move it forward. And then we have a boot. Just like that. But this boot is not, it doesn't seem very comfortable. So I'm going to make it a little bit more wide, let's say. So I'm going to press S, X, and then make it like this. All right, now it looks like a better boot, let's say. And another thing that we can do here is pretty interesting. We can slide things in a mesh, and to slide it, for example, here I have this edge. If I want to slide it, I can press G once, so I move it. If I press G again, I'm going to slide it like that. Here I'm not having the effect that I wanted, and so I'm actually just going to move it. I'm going to select this here, and then G, Y, and move it back like this. Okay, nice. I would say that this is going to be the boot of this robot. So I'm going to change the name here to Boots. Very nice. And then I am going to copy the mirror modifier. So I'm going to get any of these that has the modifier, click and drag to the boots, and there we go. It's already in place. Then let me go back to object mode, Shift Z, and then this way we have our solid view. Now, just to keep things a little bit more organized and in the, let's say, correct place. It's not actually the correct place, but it's interesting to make this whole thing, our robot, to be standing on the floor and not below the floor. So I'm going to press A to select everything, just to be sure. And then I'm going to press G and Z and bring it up until it touches the floor like that. So G, Z, and there we go. That should be fine. Now I'm going to get the 3D cursor back to the center. So Shift S, cursor toward origin. And at last, I'm going to apply all the transformations that we've made on it, because otherwise things may cause problems. And to apply the transformations, we're going to press Ctrl plus A and then apply all transforms. And then all the origin points, those orange dots that we used to see, they should be on the center of the world. And now, just to make it look a little bit better, I'm going to right click and click on this one, Shade Auto Smooth. So when we get to the hand, we see that it's quite smooth. We didn't add any geometry to it. The arms is also smooth, and we didn't add geometry to it. It's just the blender and some shading techniques to fool us. And that's basically it. And with this, we have our model complete. So this way we have the robot completely modeled. In the next video, we are going to start with materials. We're going to be able to change some colors. So I will see you in the next one.